Moon Mystery is an atmospheric, first-person shooter adventure that blends sci-fi, mystery, and exploration elements. Set on the moon, the game invites players to unravel the secrets of the silver globe and the haunting mysteries hidden beneath its surface. While players will face dangers lurking in the dark, the game's narrative is centered on uncovering what happened during past lunar missions and the true reason behind the moon's eerie allure. The game offers a wide variety of gameplay experiences, including piloting multiple vehicles, such as lunar rovers, submarines, and radio-controlled cars to explore strange worlds beyond Earth. It features 15 levels across 7 different planets, along with over 5 weapons to help combat malfunctioning robots and other threats. Players will need to solve puzzles, overcome environmental obstacles, and confront the dangers that arise from both robotic foes and other mysterious forces on the moon. John Carpenter's Toxic Commando is an intense, co-op first-person shooter set in a near-future apocalyptic world. Created by legendary horror director John Carpenter and developed by Saber Interactive, it brings together fast-paced action, 80s horror vibes, and a devastating zombie apocalypse. The game's story begins with a catastrophic experiment to tap into Earth's core energy, which unleashes a monstrous being known as the Sludge God, turning both the land and its inhabitants into dangerous undead creatures. In this chaotic world, you step into the boots of a toxic commando, a mercenary hired to clean up the mess. Your mission is simple: fight back hordes of terrifying monsters and take down the Sludge God. Beautiful Light is an upcoming multiplayer first-person shooter developed by the indie studio Deep Worlds, slated for release in 2025. The game combines asymmetrical multiplayer gameplay with survival horror elements, creating a tense and immersive experience. Set in a dark and dangerous world, players take on the role of operatives sent in squads to retrieve mysterious artifacts while surviving deadly anomalies and player-controlled monsters. The core gameplay revolves around the raid mode, where up to 24 players are divided into 6 squads of 3. Squads must navigate hostile environments, fend off rival teams, and evade 6 player-controlled anomalies while securing and extracting an artifact. Neo Berlin 2087 is an upcoming action RPG and detective thriller set in a dystopian cyberpunk future. Developed by Elysium Game Studio, the game immerses players in a technologically advanced yet divided society where the wealthy control Neo Berlin, while the impoverished struggle to survive in the city's slums and hazardous wastelands beyond its walls. The game combines first- and third-person perspectives, blending shooter, stealth, investigation, and role-playing mechanics. Players will unravel a conspiracy involving themes of justice, love, guilt, and betrayal in this emotionally charged narrative. The cinematic experience is enriched by a detailed environment showcasing the cyberpunk aesthetic of a futuristic Berlin. Long Gone is a visually stunning and narratively driven puzzle platformer set in a haunting post-apocalyptic world. The game juxtaposes a desolate, ruined environment with the charming and lighthearted personality of its protagonist, creating a unique atmosphere. Players navigate an expansive world filled with puzzles, challenges, and interactable objects, utilizing a robust item system that allows for inspecting, carrying, and combining hundreds of items. These mechanics are essential to overcoming obstacles such as locked doors and lurking zombies. Digested is an upcoming horror survival game. Set in a first-person perspective, the game revolves around escaping a relentless giant snake determined to devour you. Players must rely on a map, a compass, and their wits to locate crucial navigation points and ultimately find their extraction pod, the only means of escape. The gameplay emphasizes adaptability and strategy, as every playthrough is randomized. Starting positions, navigation points, power-ups, and the pod's location change with each session, ensuring a fresh challenge every time. Power-ups provide temporary advantages, giving players a fighting chance against the lurking predator. Wrongdus is an open-world survival horror game developed by Delusional Studio. It immerses players in a detailed, abandoned small town where they face psychological horrors, solve intricate puzzles, and battle menacing monsters. The game emphasizes a cinematic, story-driven experience and encourages exploration, with players interacting with NPCs and completing quests scattered across the eerie environment. Drawing inspiration from iconic titles like Silent Hill, Resident Evil, and Dark Souls, Wrong Dust merges atmospheric storytelling, methodical combat mechanics, and an open-world design. Its decrepit town setting, combined with its chilling and ominous atmosphere, evokes the sense of dread and mystery characteristic of classic survival horror games. Additionally, the game incorporates side quests and NPC interactions reminiscent of RPG elements, enhancing its depth and replayability. Decadent is an atmospheric, story-driven first-person shooter developed by Intation Games and set to release in 2025. Combining exploration, Lovecraftian horror, and intense combat, the game immerses players in the chilling journey of John Lorne, a World War I veteran and disillusioned occultist. Traumatized by past events and harboring a strange parasitic entity, John embarks on a dangerous mission to the Arctic to trace the fate of a missing Miskatonic University expedition. Along the way, he confronts supernatural horrors, hostile creatures, and the limits of his own morality in a world where time seems to stand still. Killing Floor 3 is the third entry in Tripwire Interactive's acclaimed co-op FPS series, set in the year 2091. Players join the rebel faction Nightfall to combat the sinister Horzine megacorporation and its bioengineered army of grotesque monsters known as Zeds. The game emphasizes strategic co-op gameplay, pitting up to 6 players against increasingly difficult hordes of enemies across diverse, blood-soaked levels. The gameplay retains the franchise's signature elements, including dynamic combat, gory melee finishers, and a vast arsenal of weapons, ranging from handguns to rocket launchers. Players earn in-game currency to upgrade their gear, improving their chances against the relentless Zeds, which feature enhanced designs and new abilities. Hunger, an upcoming PvPvE extraction shooter with a unique mix of first-person combat, RPG elements, and a horror atmosphere. Set in a grim reimagining of Napoleonic Europe ravaged by a sinister plague, players navigate through a ruined world overrun by monstrous creatures. Developed by Good Fun Corporation, the game is planned for early access on Steam and the Epic Games Store in 2025. The gameplay emphasizes survival and tactical combat, featuring both ranged and melee weapons like rifles, grenades, axes, and maces. You can venture solo or form teams of up to 3 players to scavenge resources, complete quests, and fend off both AI-controlled monsters and rival players. Hunger incorporates RPG mechanics, allowing character progression, skill upgrades, and customization. Dynasty Warriors Origins is the newest installment in the iconic Dynasty Warriors franchise. The game serves as a reboot of the series, offering players a fresh entry into the Three Kingdoms period of ancient China. The protagonist is a nameless hero who suffers from amnesia but retains extraordinary martial arts skills. This character embarks on a journey through massive battlefields, where players will engage in intense Musou combat, taking on hundreds of enemies at once. The gameplay builds on the series' traditional combat mechanics, but introduces new features to enhance variety. Players can wield a range of weapons, each with its own powerful, combo-heavy attack styles. The game also emphasizes the importance of tactical decision-making and real-time combat, offering different arts based on the chosen weapon, which can be used to break through enemy defenses and deal devastating blows. Dune Awakening is an ambitious open-world survival MMO set in the desert world of Arrakis, drawing heavily from Frank Herbert's Dune series. Developed and published by Funcom, the game invites players to immerse themselves in the harsh and ever-dangerous environment of the planet, where survival hinges on mastering the Freeman way of life and leveraging the most coveted resource, spice. The game emphasizes survival mechanics, such as managing hydration, heat exhaustion, and protection against sandstorms, with players needing to contend with extreme conditions while exploring the expansive desert. Players can also engage in resource management, crafting, and building, while taking part in political and guild intrigues that are central to the power struggles within the Dune universe. Civilization VII is set to bring a fresh experience to the classic strategy series, with several major changes and new features aimed at modernizing the gameplay while retaining the deep strategic core fans love. The game introduces a revamped 3-age structure, where players progress through distinct eras, each offering different civilizations to choose from, influenced by actions in the previous age. The game also introduces a novel town system, where settlers establish towns rather than cities. These towns focus on gold generation rather than traditional production queues, and can later be upgraded into full cities with increasing costs based on your empire's size. Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2 is the highly anticipated sequel to the first game, set to expand on the detailed medieval world that fans loved. Building on the strengths of the original, the game introduces a significantly larger world, twice the size of the first game, featuring the city of Kuttenberg, which promises a more elaborate and bustling setting. The story picks up with Henry of Skalitz, continuing his quest for vengeance and redemption after the brutal slaughter of his village. As in the first game, your actions and choices will have a lasting impact on the world around you. You can still customize Henry, tailoring his skills, appearance, and moral decisions, which makes the journey highly personal. Assassin's Creed Shadows is the latest addition to the Assassin's Creed franchise. This game will introduce a fresh storyline featuring two distinct protagonists, Yasuke, the legendary African samurai, and Niobe, a skilled shinobi from Iga province in Japan. Their narratives are interconnected as they navigate the intricate world of feudal Japan. Yasuke's powerful and brutal combat style contrasts with Naoi's stealth-driven, shadow-based approach, offering players the choice to engage with the game through either method, depending on the character chosen for specific missions. Avowed is an upcoming first-person fantasy RPG developed by Obsidian Entertainment, set in the richly detailed world of Eora, the same universe as Pillars of Eternity. Slated for release on February 18, 2025, Avowed transports players to the Living Lands, where they play as an envoy of the Edoran Emperor tasked with uncovering the source of a mysterious plague known as the Dream Scourge. The game mixes elements of political intrigue, mysticism, and powerful combat as players navigate a world rife with tension between local factions and the Imperial forces. The game will feature deep character customization, where players can shape their protagonists' abilities and story choices. A unique aspect of Avowed is its blend of first- and third-person perspectives, allowing for varied combat experiences, including spellcasting and melee engagements. Alongside combat, the game emphasizes narrative choices that influence the outcome of the story, offering multiple paths and outcomes depending on which factions the player aligns with. Monster Hunter Wilds is the upcoming installment in the Monster Hunter series, set for release on February 28, 2025 for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series XS, and PC via Steam. This action RPG taking players to the mysterious Forbidden Lands, a dynamic wilderness full of wild ecosystems, shifting climates, and massive monsters to hunt. The game follows a special research commission tasked with exploring these uncharted lands. Players take on the role of a hunter alongside key companions such as Alma the Handler, Gemma the Smithy, and the enigmatic Nada. The world of Monster Hunter Wilds features dynamic biomes like the Windward Plains and Scarlet Forest, where the environment changes drastically, challenging hunters to adapt to fluctuating weather and monster behaviors. Dragonkin The Banished is an upcoming action RPG that combines elements of Diablo-like hack-and-slash combat with deep character customization and city-building mechanics. The Altars is an upcoming action-adventure game developed by 11-Bit Studios, the creators behind This War of Mine and Frostpunk. In this game, players take on the role of Jan Dolsky, a man stranded on a distant planet following a crash landing. His only hope for survival is to create alternate versions of himself, known as altars, by using a local substance called Rapidium. Each altar represents a different path in Jan's life, shaped by key decisions he made in the past. The central theme of the altars explores the what-if question. What if you had chosen a different path in life? Each altar has a unique personality and history, offering players a chance to engage with various versions of Jan. As Jan navigates his predicament, he must cooperate with his altars to survive and, ultimately, figure out how to return home. The game delves into the consequences of life's choices, offering an intriguing narrative about identity, survival, and self-reflection. Atomfall is an immersive survival action game developed by Rebellion, set to release on March 27, 2025. It takes place 5 years after a catastrophic nuclear disaster in northern England, which has left the region in ruins. Players step into a fictional quarantine zone, exploring the desolate British countryside filled with remnants of society, The game focuses heavily on exploration, scavenging, crafting, and combat as you navigate through this post-apocalyptic world. The narrative is heavily influenced by real-life events, blending mystery, survival, and a sense of mysticism that permeates the game world. Judas is a first-person narrative-driven shooter developed by Ghost Story Games, led by Ken Levine, the visionary behind BioShock and BioShock Infinite. The game plunges players into the chaotic interior of a deteriorating starship. You play as the troubled protagonist, Judas, who is desperately attempting to escape this disintegrating vessel. The twist lies in your relationships with the ship's hostile inhabitants, with the potential to either forge uneasy alliances or deepen betrayals. Your survival hinges on these interactions, making choices that will either repair or further shatter the already fragile ship and its inhabitants. Crimson Desert is an ambitious open-world action RPG developed by Pearl Abyss, the studio behind Black Desert Online. Set in the continent of Pywell, the game unfolds in a high fantasy world divided into distinct regions, each with its own cultures and landscapes. The story centers on Macduff, a mercenary navigating the political chaos following the King of Demenis's coma. With the king's absence, power struggles erupt across the land, setting the stage for Macduff to rise as a leader and form a group of mercenaries to fight for survival against rival factions. The game world is vast and varied, featuring snowy peaks, deserts, forests, and rocky plateaus, each with their own cities, castles, and villages. One of the standout features of the setting is the introduction of new technologies, including firearms and cannons, alongside the ancient practice of alchemy, which allows players to imbue weapons with magical abilities. These elements combine to create intense tactical combat and exploration, further enhanced by the game's emphasis on player choice, where your actions can shape the story and world. Eternal Strands is an upcoming third-person action-adventure game from Yellow Brick Games, set in a vast, magical world where players assume the role of Weaver, tasked with recovering the Lost Enclave and uncovering its mysteries. This game introduces an innovative blend of magical abilities and environmental interactions that promise dynamic combat and exploration. Players can manipulate heat, cold, and real-time environmental effects to gain the upper hand in battle, such as using ice to pin enemies or turning fire against foes in icy surroundings. The Fable reboot, set to release in 2025, marks the return of the beloved RPG series, bringing the vibrant and comedic world of Albion back to life. Developed by Playground Games, known for their work on the Forza Horizon series, the game promises to retain the franchise's signature humor, fantastical elements, and deeply impactful choices. The reboot's narrative will focus on your character's rise to become a hero, navigating a world where every action shapes your reputation and influences the people around you. A dark threat looms over Albion, and your choices will determine the fate of the land. Slay the Spire 2 is the highly anticipated sequel to the beloved roguelike deck-building game Slay the Spire. The sequel builds upon the foundation of the original, while introducing fresh elements that promise to elevate the gameplay experience. The game retains the core mechanics that made the original so successful, including card-based combat, procedurally generated levels, and a high level of strategic depth. Is an upcoming action-adventure game from Compulsion Games, known for their work on We Happy Few. Set in a uniquely atmospheric take on the American Deep South, the game introduces Hazel, a young woman who embarks on a magical journey to unravel her family's secrets. The game blends Southern Gothic elements with magical realism, creating a world where folklore creatures come to life in a beautifully decayed, overgrown environment. Players control Hazel, using an ancient power called Weaving to manipulate the world around her and battle monstrous entities rooted in regional myths. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is the highly anticipated next installment in the Metroid franchise, slated for release on the Nintendo Switch in 2025. This game continues the classic Metroid formula of exploration, puzzle solving, and intense combat, with Samus Aran returning to battle space pirates and other menacing threats. The game promises stunning visuals with lush environments and advanced graphical fidelity, which has led to speculation that it may also be compatible with the upcoming Nintendo Switch 2. Mecha Break is an upcoming multiplayer mech shooter developed by Amazing Seasun Games. The game brings players into high-octane battles with customizable mechs, allowing them to choose from a variety of classes, such as assault, sniper, melee, reconnaissance, and support roles. The game is designed for large-scale online combat, with battles involving up to 48 players, often grouped into teams of 3 or 6. The action is set on expansive, treacherous battlefields, where players can fight in a battle royale format, blending intense strategy and fast-paced combat. Hell Is Us is an upcoming third-person action-adventure game. It is slated for release in 2025 on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series XS. The game follows Remy, a soldier and United Nations peacekeeper who journeys into the mysterious, calamity-stricken country of Hadia. The region is infested with supernatural entities called Hollow Walkers, which players must combat using a variety of melee weapons, such as swords, polearms, and axes. These weapons are crucial for battling the otherworldly creatures, and the combat system is designed to balance difficulty, requiring skillful timing and strategy. Ghost of Yotei is an upcoming action-adventure game from Sucker Punch Productions, set to release in 2025. It's a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, but it introduces a new protagonist, Atsu, who will embark on a different journey. The story takes place more than 300 years after the events of the first game, in a northern region of Japan surrounding Mount Yotei, located in Hokkaido. The setting is described as rugged and dangerous, a departure from the structured samurai world of Tsushima, with expansive snowy landscapes and towering mountains. Grand Theft Auto VI, the next installment in Rockstar's iconic open-world franchise, is set to release in 2025. Set in the state of Leonida, which includes the neon-lit streets of Vice City, a reimagined Miami, this game promises an amazing experience with expansive locations and a storyline that dives into crime and power struggles. The game will feature dual protagonists, enhancing the narrative depth, and showcase a world brimming with activities, including crime and exploration, cutting-edge graphics, and a living, breathing world in this highly anticipated sequel.